Hello, welcome to the show, audience. It's just your AutoCAD, and welcome to the show. This is not going to be one of your classic shows. This is going to be reading a creepypasta. And just in case you don't know what a creepypasta is, just in case you tend to watch my channel and you don't want to watch anymore, by the way, thank you for that. Anyways, if you do, creepypasta is a scary story. For examples, it's not like your average ghost story. For example, have you heard of Slenderman? Jeff the Killer? Yeah, those are technically counted as creepypastas. So, I'm actually going to read this. I'll leave a link to the creepypasta just in case you want to check it out for yourselves. This one's called Mermaid, and it has an 8.6 out of 10 rating, which is really good. And I'm going to be reading this to you guys. And just in case, there is going to be a picture ahead, so you have been warned. It's going to be a scary picture of a mermaid that I found online. So, the link to the creepypasta will be down in the description below. I don't know, I said that twice, but anyways, I might mess up, but I'll just keep on going. So I'm not that much of a fluent reader, but I'll try my best. I'll try to even keep the tone scary. I knew it. My friends all knew it, and everyone at school knew it, but no one will believe us. School was quiet with the truth hanging everywhere. If the students silently drifted from class to class, no one really spoke all that much. Between each period, there was a brief and hunched march of bodies before the halls died again. All but a few teachers didn't really care. They enjoyed the silence. The teachers who did care did not know how to help or even what to say. It started a few days after Zach Thompson drowned. His girlfriend Mallory Andrews said that someone dragged him into the sea, pulled him right off their boat. No one was there to see it, and she could not tell anyone what the person looked like. So when Zach's body floated in, drowned but unharmed, everyone wrote her off. A few days later, Mallory went missing, and no one had ever seen her since. I did not really know Zach or Mallory. A few of my friends knew them, and they seemed nice enough. No one should ever have to drown. The thought of falling in the Atlantic, the darkness everywhere, the liquid pouring into my lungs, terrified me. I hated to think what Zach felt as his legs failed half a mile above the nearest ground. Did he just breathe, get it over with, or did he just keep holding his breath as long as he could? Our friends who knew them showing the first wave of mourning zombies that populated the high school. They all remember listening to Mallory's tear-stained story of the hand and the splash, the screaming, the eyes. A few days later, Matt Miller was found caught in the framing of his parents' dock. Apparently, Matt had gone out into the night and looked at the water and fell over. Police say when his shirt got caught, I did not know Matt Miller that well either. He was never nice to me. To be honest, he was an asshole. But you never hear about that stuff after the fact. You only get hear the nice stories about what great person they were. It was then that the school moved in a small fleet of counselors and social workers to help with them. Oh, I lost where I was. Help him with feelings. The lines to talk to someone stretched out into the hall at first. It was maybe a week before Aubrey Strong drowned. She was found naked and bruised along the beach. Her lungs were filled with water. Her sister, Tammy, had been there when something attacked them. She told the police as she grabbed Aubrey and ran off. A few days later, Tammy's story had changed from something to someone. Her body was found the next day at the same beach as her sister, still wearing the same clothes from school. The city began hiring more lifeguards. Strict curfews were put in place at all beaches, and students were questioned mercilessly by police and teachers. Students stopped going to the counselors. The meetings began to feel more like interrogations than anything else. Then, Mark Sawyer and Ashley Corey died on the same night. I was with Mark Sawyer. He was my best friend. We were playing Call of Duty and eating pizza in the bedroom. He was winning. He was winning. I had been tracking him for 10 whole minutes across the desert, and my sight was lined up on this guy's back. Then the lights went out. The TV made a weird whistling noise before falling back, black and silent. What the hell? I said to him as he stood up and began messing with the light switches. He never had a chance to respond. I froze in terror when I heard it slap up the stairs and saw it reach around the door frame. It smelled like under the docks. Mark could not move either, as the net fell over him. I listened to his scream as he thudded down the stairs, one step at a time. I ran home, slammed my bedroom door shut behind me. I never said a word. The next day, Mark Sawyer and Ashley Corey were added to the list of people. Both of them were found in shallows by a fisherman. Amanda Stoner had been with Ashley Corey when it happened. She spent all day tossed around by counselors and police officers. Amanda told them about a man who ran at them until they were struggled with him on the beach. I could not speak to anyone. The words refused to leave my lips. Whenever I tried, I saw Mark fall beneath the endless void of darkness. Did he breathe in, or did he hold it as long as he could? The teachers looked on me with pity. They did not know what I had seen. The counselors made sure that I knew their doors were always open. They did not know I had been with Mark Sawyer. I could not say a word to anyone but Amanda. Hey, I said to her at the lunch table. We had never met. She was very pretty with dark hair and brown eyes and large, gorgeous lips. The kind of girl I would usually have to build up my courage to talk to. The kind of girl I probably just wouldn't talk to. She looked at me, dismissive. Then she saw a look in my eyes and reached out and took a hand at hers. You saw them, she whispered. I nodded. Again, Amanda told her story. It was just like mine. The hand, the screaming, the eyes. From then on, the two of us were inseparable. I sat next to her with my beige long lunch tray, and that was that. We waited for each other on the bus in the morning. We met again after school. At night, we had to leave for our own houses. We sat on our phones. Eventually, we even began to talk about the other things. We tried to forget. We had seen them. Everyone who saw them disappeared. As the month went on, the drownings turned into disappearances. For some reason, the creature was no longer happy with just killing. They nurtured their victims away, never to be seen again. Lucy left us for a new empty desk every other week or so. Amanda and I were not sure why the creature from the water left us alone. Maybe it was because both of our houses were inland, or maybe because we were the only survivors who banded together. Fall became and the leaves formed a brilliant... Sorry, I lost my thing. Brilliant New England reds and golds, leaving a sad magic in the air. When our town's annual Oktoberfest arrived, most people could not find their hearts to attend. Our tragedy had become so long-lasting, we barely even made the news anymore when a child went missing. And a melancholy sunk its fingers into the entire town. But Amanda and I went. We walked close, passing beneath the large banner that hung above the boardwalk. Pumpkins and gourds and bundles of straw festively adorned the hallway placed along the street lights and the porches of the homes that looked out over the sea. Fishermen worked at large vending stalls and crafts display. Sold wars were all were all the way down at the docks, punctuated by the occasional carnival game or food standing selling funnel cake and grease. But it was quiet. Amanda took my hand and pulled me along to everything she wanted to see. We had both seen it every year before, but that day was different. When she took my hand, I felt my heart leap back to life. And when I won her a giant teddy bear, I could not stop smiling. Neither could she. Then something happened. We began to laugh. People around us smiled, and the moment of happiness infected everyone. The vendors began shouting to the people passing by, proclaiming their fish was the best, or how you could not find a necklace like theirs. People began coming out of their homes. The carnival games had lines stretching back into the streets. Little children laughed as their parents swung them between their hands, and everyone forgot. That night, as the sun set behind us and the people began heading home, Amanda and I sat on the black bench, barely big enough to fit us both and her teddy bear. Looking out across the water, I did not even realize that we were even holding each other's hands all day. Then she leaned in and kissed me. It was short and sweet, and when she stopped, she gave me a shy, embarrassed grin. It was the best day I could remember. In coming weeks, the temperature began to drop. The first flurry of snow descended on our town. The disappearances began happening more frequently, and sadness evolved into pure terror. With the attacks growing in frequency, many people began to leave, some not even waiting for their homes to sell, and others leaving everything behind. I came home one day to my parents beginning to stack a cardboard box in the living room. Neither of them said anything. We all understood. But all I could think about was leaving Amanda behind. That night, awoken in the sound of a frenzied dog, I saw something from my bedroom window as I looked out across the increasingly desolated town. The front gate of the yard had been opened. It was locked, twisted off. The black iron smacking of the fence was wide, swung it back and forth along the creaking hinges. It walked like a man, with a slow, heady stride. The creature was all tall and bulky, its wide torso resting on legs as thick as tree trunks. I could not get a clear look through the darkness, but its eyes, the size of smaller dinner plates, reflecting flashes of light from the street. I dropped to the floor and peered to the corner of the window. I watched as the thing walked towards the front door, quietly fiddling with the doorknob, and then began pacing along the first floor windows. At each one, it tested their weights, figured out which windows were locked and which one were not. Then, satisfied, it walked back through the gate, back to the water. I told my parents that I had seen someone sneaking around to the house in the night. They called the police. The police took my statement and a description of a large man in the shadows. My mom began packing faster that day, and my father was put a hand on my shoulder, looked me in the eye, and promised he would protect me. I knew it would be back for me. Later on, just as the sun was beginning to descend, I packed my backpack, led through the fence with the broken lock. I headed for Amanda's. The creature would never attack an adult. My parents would be fine, but for me, my home was no longer safe. They would drag me away like Mark. "They scouted my house last night," I said as Amanda let me inside. She was scared. We both were. She led me into her bedroom, where we talked about my parents getting ready to move, and she told me that her parents were planning to head up to New York. "I can't leave you," she told me as she wrapped our arms around each other. After dinner, she told her parents I had left and hid me away in the bedroom. We stayed up late, lying on her bed, watching the movies she had on her shelves, and kissing whenever either of us built up courage. Wait, where was it? Okay. See it? Periodically, I would stand and look at her window and the town of the ocean of the scared lights that lit the empty streets. No one walked through the stone pathways, and most of our homes had all gone dark. If I stood at the right angle, I could spot the water from the ocean peacefully washing onto the shore. When we fell asleep, my arms was wrapped around her wrist, and her fingers curled over my hand and rested in my palm. The room was dark when I woke up into the dog barking in the distance. The light from the television cast from the room in a pale, flickering glow. I reached out to touch Amanda, and when my hand felt nothing but the blankets, my heart began to pound in my chest. I shot it from the bed. The room smelled like stale water, and the carpet was wet. I darted out to the window, where along the beach I could see several fingers dragging one another. Without a second thought, I raced down the stairs and slammed through the front door. By the time Amanda's parents were flipping on the light in their bedroom with desperation, had carried me halfway through the town. Ahead, I could hear whispering roar of the waves, and Amanda. She was screaming, "No!" I cried as my feet touched the sand. "Leave her alone!" The creature turned to look at me, stopping only a feet before touching the water. Amanda struggled beneath the tangled weight of the organic-looking fishing net, the rope of which the handing had clenched list of the last creature. They were all large, muscled humanoids, with massive web feet and hands. They stared at me with fish-like and flattened faces, the cross between me, man, and piranha. Each one carried a large spear that looked aimed at me as I approached. I stopped and lifted my hands in the air when one of them let out a hollow call, like a whale threatened me with a long, barbed weapon. The creature with Amanda protectively lifted her over his shoulder like she weighed nothing and held her away from me. One of the monsters moved towards me. It felt thudding against the ground and kicking up the wave of sand each step. It stopped a foot in front of my nose and unbared a row of sharp teeth, and with no one of its great arms, it motioned towards the net, and then pounded its claws fist against its scaled chest. No, please. I clasped my hands together and fell to my knees. My begging did nothing as the creatures turned and continued their slow march back towards the water. I screamed for someone to help. When I saw Amanda struggle, digging her nails frantically into the sand, I lunged forward only to one who denied me to hurl my body away. I smacked into the sand, shouting and screaming at them. Tears flowed my face and I twisted in rage. "Take me!" I roared as under the thunder of the ocean. "Take me instead." The creature I spoke at before turned to see me with the hands held out in front of me in surrender. It gave another hollow call to its party. "Take me," I demanded again. It paused a moment, staring at me with its gigantic eyes. Then it took a sharpened blade to the coral and sliced through the rope. Then a companion held. Immediately, Amanda rushed from the net and flew into my arms. I held her for as long as I could, breathing her in, before the creature grabbed me by the arm and pulled me away. Amanda screamed and chased after us, only to be flung back by another of those terrible creatures. When she tried again, the one holding me aimed his blade towards her. "Amanda, it's okay," I told her as my feet hit the water. "It's okay. The water came to my waist. Promise me you will leave this place." She fell to her knees, sobbing. "Promise me," I yelled. She promised beneath a shower of tears and helpless screams. The water lapped at my chin, As the monster continued to drag me below, I tugged back one last time to cry above the cold blackness. Amanda, I love you. Instantly, the surface shot away from me, above me. I remember Mark and so many others, how they fought helplessly as they vanished beneath the sea. Did they breathe in, or did they hold on for as long as they could? As I watched the world above me rip through my fingertips, falling deeper and deeper into the ocean, I could only think of Amanda. And I held on. I held on for as long as I could. Just in case, okay, that's the end of the story. So, just in case, the recap, so basically there was a giant monster headed for the town, don't know what town, doesn't state it, and people were disappearing and being killed by the so-called mermaid. But anyways, I'm kind of tired, my legs cramping from this awkward position, and the creepypasta owner, just in case you don't want to check, goes to Ryan Austin Gray. And to be honest, this was a really good story, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, that's just gonna be it. There's not gonna be an outro. Sorry. Bye bye.